Tonight we have Jeanette Hayhurst here. She has just come back from the trail. And we were talking earlier, it's kind of serendipitous the way we found each other, because Ray and Mel had gone out to the Soda Lake geothermal plant. They're going out there because Ray is in the process of putting together a green energy exhibit. And so he was out there, and this was several months ago, and I was in the process of trying to put together this lecture series, and Ray and Mel knew that it was about pioneers. And then Ray came back and said, you know, we met these ladies at this tour.
That's the other one.
Oh, okay. We met the ladies at the tour, and they are going to be reenacting a wagon drive on the Immigrant Trail. And I needed a fourth person at that time, and I thought, this is absolutely perfect. It fits so much into our thing. And then it just all came together. And even through the turmoil, we were able to put it so that it all works. And so I'm really grateful that you were able to come tonight. I have a very short introduction. Jeanette Hayhurst is the president of Corral 14 Western Wagons. Corral 14 members participate in numerous wagon drives throughout the year. Since 1967, they have conducted the wagon drive through the Death Valley, following the route of the 49ers. Jeanette has a degree in zoology with a minor in agriculture from Cal Poly Pomona. I knew I could do it. Cal Poly Pomona. She has extensive experience working with government agencies, and this is funny, and you'll find out soon, and has had success obtaining permits to allow wagon drives on public lands. Please welcome Jeanette Hayhurst.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Well, I was really tickled because sometimes you're the speaker and nobody shows up. So I just want you to know from the bottom of my heart, thank you for coming tonight. I was looking forward to this, and Beth said she was coming, so I knew we had one. But this is great. All right, I'm going to throw on the readers that, you know, I didn't used to need, but now we do. And also, I do have a couple of people that were on the wagon drive in the room, so if I lie, I've told them not to narc me off. So. Okay, have I got this? All right, I'm supposed to stand here and talk loud and stand tall. So, the Corral 14 decided to do the Fearful Crossing wagon drive. Okay, Jeanette, I decided to do it, and then I used to live in Southern California, in the great city of Barstow. Now, some of you have either broken down there or used the bathroom, I'm sure. You know, that halfway point between Los Angeles and Vegas, you know. Beth and I are both very fond of Barstow. There's some great people, and I love Nevada. It's a beautiful state. My husband decided to come out of retirement and move, and took a job at your Peace Officer Standards and Training in Carson City, and it's his dream job. And we've been married 39 years, and I've cashed in some of my marriage chits that you get at the beginning. Planning this wagon drive, I cashed in lots. But I had moved here, so I felt like we kind of had a trade-off. So we have done Corral 14. I've been driving wagons now for about 8 years. I used to do saddle horses, and then my hips said, nah, we're not gonna let you do that anymore. So I could sit. And so a good friend of both Beth and mine, Nora, was driving, and she said if I had it to do over, I'd start driving miniature horses. Because, you know, if they step on your foot, you go, ow, instead of go to the emergency room with some of these big draft horses. So I started off, and my husband, he used to be a rodeo bullfighter clown guy, and he understands cattle, me not so much, but he doesn't really like horses. So I knew I was kind of on my own, so I just got the miniature ones, and I just got more of them. Why have 2? I have 6, because it takes, like 4 horses to make up one of these big draft horses. So I started doing this, and I thought I was kind of tough. But that first wagon drive at Death Valley, it's beautiful, and you're in Death Valley where they have no, cell towers or anything, and you get up and you have breakfast, and it all sounds really good, but it's tiring, and it's hard. It's hard work. Keeping the horses going straight is much harder than you realize. Straight is not their favorite thing. And I got done, and I felt like I'd accomplished something. And so I keep doing it because I don't want to lose, we don't want to lose this history. And I think you guys are here because you know how important this is and how kids today are kind of losing track of that. Most wagon drivers used to be reiners, cutters, show horses, fast and fancy. Well, then we get old. So we did have some kids along on this trip. But the average age of the wagon, like I'm in my 60s, the average age is in their 70s, and I believe Doc Fly at 84 was the oldest. If you want to live to be old, you should come on a wagon drive. Because Al Chin, he's since passed away, but he was driving wagons at 92. So it's good for you to be healthy and out there and doing all of this kind of work. So when I came to Nevada, I was kind of looking for something, and this Fearful Crossing wagon drive had been done, let's see, yes, this Fearful Crossing wagon drive, a gentleman named Bill Adams, and some of you may have heard of Bill. His daughter, Roxanne White, is still in the area. And Bill started this drive in the late 90s. There's some question on whether it was mid-90s or late 90s. And he did it from the Lovelock Fairgrounds way into Fallon. The problem was that in 2007, they did a really nice video, but everybody I could ask, they've either died or they don't remember where the wagon drive was. So that was the part about my husband. I had to, we gotta go drive this. We gotta go try to figure out the route. We had the video, so we go, oh, that's this hill. And I thought, and in 2013, the BLM, we'll talk about them just a little, they changed their requirements and they made it even harder than the National Park Service to get a permit. Used to be BLM was, one for all for one, come ride, we love you to use your, natural lands, but it's changed a little. So there are people that kept wagon drives going, but they didn't get a permit. And then sometimes they get caught and then they get threatened with these big fees and fines. So I'm like, I speak some government. I'm not afraid. I should have been, but anyway, ignorance is bliss. I started off. And I thought, okay, it's 11 months out. I think I can do it. The problem with Bill was because it was never recorded with the BLM, it wasn't, nobody had the route. Nobody knew. It had never been permitted, never been documented. And my goal is that 50 years from now, when I'm long gone, that somebody's going to be able to dig out this wagon route and follow it. The Immigrant Trail, as you are very familiar with, it runs through your backyard. Let's see, and I'm not here to talk about that, I'm not an expert, but through this area, about 150,000 people came through, nearly 1,000 people lost their lives, and 10,000 head of stock. And people back then wrote so much better than we do. When you read those letters, it's like reading Civil War letters. When they describe the horror, the breathing of the dust, the animals dropping, losing their belongings, it gives me chills when I talk about it. And we need to keep that. And wagons are a way to keep that history. So we want to be part of that. I wanted to get a permit. I wanted to keep this on the books and make sure that we didn't lose it. So just real quickly, ETI, actually, some people might not know this, even ETI members. ETI is Equestrian Trails, Inc., and they have different clubs and chapters. Like some do gymkhana, some do trail riding, some do wagons. It was started in the 40s, back in World War II, when the Japanese, they were afraid were gonna bomb the West Coast. And so horse people, being good Americans, said, I'll go patrol the coast. And they started this, and it just grew and developed. And now nobody's doing that. We're just trying to go and do fun things with horses, preserve trails. We do try to get involved with legislation that supports trail riders. We do try to keep things going, you know, when they're trying to squeeze out horses from so many places. So I decided that I was gonna come here. And as you can tell that I'm gonna get a t-shirt that says enthusiasm is not a crime, right? You know, skateboarding is not a crime. Sometimes I get a little excited. I'm really here to try to get you all to become wagon drivers. So if I at least get you interested, then I have succeeded. So, okay, somewhere I've got, and these markers are fabulous. And I learned all kinds of things like that. I didn't know the markers went the same rail that the trail went. Beth, Steve Knight, you have so many great historians. And next year, if we're gonna do this next year, we're gonna be able to get some more speakers to come in and tell us more about the actual trail. I'm gonna say no because then I'll go down a rabbit hole. So, and I could go really easily. So I may answer your question, but at the end, write it down. I have to write it down. You're better than me. I don't do so good. Okay, let me just get through this here. Permits required. It required a BLM permit. I want you to know I aced the permit. I wrote a beautiful operations plan. I had a sanitation plan. I had a safety plan. I had all these plans. They loved my plans. That was not the problem. I'll tell you the problem after I tell you. The other permit I got was the NDOT permit, which is thanks to Sheriff Hickox, your sheriff here. I needed somebody to adopt us. And so my husband reached out to Sheriff Hickox, and he and his family were actually going to come and see us if they could have. But he agreed to be our escort. There's a 12-mile stretch along 95. And so we're off to the side of the road, but people are crazy. And so if he's there, when you don't have a sheriff's car, people kind of like want to honk at you and flip you off and get grumpy. And it's so nice when they see those red and blue lights. They're just so much better behaved. So we appreciated his willingness, and I'll tell you why we didn't get there either. We ended up with this trip, and I'm going to bash the BLM a little later, so I'll come back to the insurance problem. We had 10 wagons, and we had 32 people. And we have Ken back there. This is what you get. Ken, you have to stand up because you're a tall drink of water. You look like you should be on a wagon drive. So Ken was here, and what we really also love about Ken is he brought young people. Wagon driving is an old people's sport. Sport? Do you like the way you use the word sport? So it is so nice. We do have some grandkids of some of our members, and you know he brought his granddaughters. And we did have one other young man who I think Liam's like 8 years old or something. So it was great. Talking about third-party entities, we coordinated with the geothermal plant. That was where we were going to take the wagons and park them. And we were, kind of have a sad ending, but we were going to leave the Lovelock Fairgrounds. June is delightful. And so we had to work out that kind of stuff. We have a U-Haul truck with a potty on the back, part of my sanitation plan, but we've had this potty, and we're gonna get a shower. You get a shower in the middle of the week, whether you need it or not. With hot water, we heat it. Those electric ones don't work. The best way is an old cauldron and heat it up old school way, and then it works better. You know, and people, now we're spoiled. We want ice. You know, so you have to have a freezer on the back of the wagon. I know I'm supposed to be telling you how bad we roughed it, but we had potties, we had ice, we had cell phone charging station, and it's still hard. This is still, it's still a hard trip. We have a feed truck. We can't bring hay. We need weed-free pelleted hay, or weed-free pellets. So we had a feed truck, and we also have a rescue truck. Sometimes animals go lame, and Bill didn't have one. I looked at the video, and there was one like, ooh, if we had a rescue truck, that one would have gotten the truck. That follows behind, so if a wagon axles break, things happen. So we have, it's a lot of work to have fun. That's my other motto. So let me just, I won't go, permitting with the BLM, I'm pretty good at this, I thought. And I had all the stuff done, and what caught me by surprise, I turned in our insurance. I'm all proud, ETI has national insurance. I'm like, I got insurance, no problem. Well, the BLM has decided that they told me originally to make it out to Bureau of Land Management / US Department of the Interior. Great, turned it in, no problem. And then like 10 days before the drive, they go, oh no, that won't work. They've had this for 2 months. And they said, that won't work. We need you to make it out to United States of America with no address. The private, I know their government, the private sector was not going to do that. It's like, that makes us too vulnerable. Any Tom, Dick, they'd make it out to US government. No, that wasn't good enough. I called the congressman's office. I got a little bit of help. I made a little progress. Still couldn't get him to budge. So finally, Friday morning, we're getting together on Saturday. I was told I have a permit. It's like, oh, this triggers a National Environmental Policy Act review. Yeah, it's a big deal. I got a categorical exclusion because I knew if I damaged less than 3 acres, because we're on the trail and our camps are less than 0.9 acres, and I was at 3 different camps in their area, that I wouldn't be a problem to them. So the guy said, yes, you made it, you're a categorical exclusion, no problem. That's the last thing I need, you're good. Basically, I know, who's laughing? So I was sending my people, I have a permit, no. So the USA thing caused some consternation. I finally found a company in Colorado. They're probably crazy, but they would write the policy. And our current lady said, it's really not even probably barely, nobody in their right mind writes it. But at 9 o'clock on Friday morning, we had a permit. Everything else was good. I have people coming in from New Mexico, Montana, SoCal, NorCal, Nevada. Oh well. We got it done. Volunteers and support crew, Beth here, raise your hand. This is part of our support crew. It takes, somebody has to clean the potties. And these people do it for free, okay? Volunteers. Somebody, because somebody says, oh, we're out of toilet paper. Or somebody's like, oh, where do I put my this? Or how do I do that? Or where's my stuff? And our support crew are priceless. I did cash in more of my I'm married to my husband chits for that too. He was the head support guy. I do are very powerful words. 39 years ago, and I'm still getting to reap the benefits. So, oh yeah, where do I get ice? Where's the ice book? Because you sign if you buy bags of ice, and then we bill you at the end. So we've got volunteers and support crew. Steve Knight had agreed to come and speak. The story's still going good now. All right. You see, we use car tires because we like our kidneys. We appreciate. Sometimes you got to trade a little authenticity for a little bit of comfort. And when you go to the chuck wagon and they've got the steel wheels, they're hard. And when you get in sandy conditions, those want to dig in. So the car tires are better. So we do that. We also, Corral 14, we like a layover day. We've worked hard for 2 days. So we drive our animals for 2 days and then we take a layover day. Because that's how we roll. And we talk and we play music and we have fun together. So we scheduled that in there. Sue, who's our wagon master, she actually didn't make that canvas, but most of the nice, snappy, tight white ones, Sue hand sews. She's got this huge ping pong table, and that woman is a seamstress, and she makes beautiful covered wagon tops. The other thing, we were supposed to leave on the 16th, which is a Monday, be done on Friday. The layover day is the middle of the week, the 18th. We had planned the route. BLM, we had to put it on this GIS thing and submit it, and it was pretty technical. And fortunately, I have friends that know how to do this kind of stuff. So we got that taken care of. And then when you drop everybody off, they're going somewhere. So everybody got there on the 14th, which was Saturday, and then you have to shuttle the rigs because you don't want to drive 60 miles and your rig's back there. So that takes some coordination too. So we made that happen. You're going to get to I'm going to introduce you to our people. And then Sue is our wagon master. Unfortunately, her wagon was trapped in the bridge fire because she was evacuated. So her three halflingers, her three abreast halflinger team and her wagon, they didn't get to go. She came through because they had told her she had to leave. But anyway, Sue has been doing the Death Valley Wagon Drive about 40 years, and Sue's a hand. So yeah, she can fix anything, weld anything, drive anything. We're happy to have her. And then Paul, he's our real cowboy looking dude. Paul, he's from Northern California, Lakeport. Sandpaper, trying to get out of your way. And then you have Jim, he's married to Julie, and then you have his swamper. When you go on a wagon drive, you have the wagon master. So Sue is responsible for anybody behind her. The wagon master is like the leader, and you can't pass the wagon master. You need to listen. Somebody's got to be in charge so that you don't run amok. So you get you have your wagon master to tell you, like, the words wagons hoe. Oh, I said them once, because doesn't wagons hoe, it just rolls off your tongue. It just makes you feel like a cowboy. Ooh, that's bad. I got told I was not the wagon master. I could not say wagons hoe. But once I was in the front and I got, okay, Jeanette, you can say it this time. So it's a kind of a rush. I know I'm easily entertained, but it's really cool to holler out wagons hoe and have everybody move off. So you have, like, Jim's in the black hat. He is the teamster. He's driving a team, or the driver. And then the gentleman sitting off to his, oh, actually Jim doesn't have. All right, Lance has the lines. And you don't call them reins, you call them lines. They got a little their own etiquette. So that's the glamorous title of swamper. Swamper is kind of like if you look at old literature, it's kind of the person that helps and does, we call them ODA, other duties as assigned. Well, swampers are the ODAs of their day. And anything that needs to be done or helped with, it's the swamper. They will, sometimes if the horses get ampy or the mules get ampy, somebody needs to stand at their head. Harnessing, those harnesses are heavy that's part of the other reason I got minis. All I have to do to put harness buttons go like this. You know, yeah, they're heavy. They're heavy to get off, let alone get on. So hopefully bring a healthy swamper to help you out. And then the only one you're not seeing here is outriders. And so you don't have a communication system. So your outriders are on horseback. So if they see somebody in the back having a problem, then they'll come up and say, ooh, this isn't going well, slow the wagons down, we need to stop, somebody broke an axle, something fell off, something didn't work, except for Doc Fly. He's our veterinarian. And Ken's granddaughters were very concerned about Doc Fly. They didn't understand. Doc Fly's mules run away all the time. He breaks equipment. He's a veterinarian. He has money. But you wouldn't know it to look at his stuff sometimes. Zip tied. He had 5, one time we stopped for Doc, he put in 5 zip ties on his harness. So, oh Doc. He was the state veterinarian for New Mexico and used to oversee the racing license board for New Mexico. But he can't keep his harnesses together to get us out of wherever. So. But if your horse is in trouble, he's the guy you want to call. So the youngsters were a little worried about Doc, but they're very resourceful. And his animals don't really know how to stop. So this is what keeps, Doc is 84, and what keeps him and his younger brother Howie, who's 80, in good shape, is when Doc's animals start to take off, everybody has to run and jump on the wagon. And when they stop, the men have to jump off because they're wild, crazy mules. It's just Doc. We just got used to it. I was at the back when my horses were new, and I'm like, I should be at the back. I don't, I want to, And Doc's like, oh no, I'm always at the back. And he says, because my animals run away. And so we had it worked out. Okay, Doc, if your animals run away, I'm gonna pull to the right, you pass me on the left. Anyway, Doc is an asset and has been doing this for a very long time. Okay, we're gonna go through and let you meet some of my friends. Oh, I took a pair of minis in a cart. Ava's from Palomino Valley, she's quite a hand. Otis is also 80, runs the trail program in Santa Barbara. And Beth Brockman is a small animal vet, and Jezebel is the light of her. She loves that little donkey, so she goes places. Dolly Corey is from Palmdale, and Margaret, her cousin, is from Canada. And that's a pretty realistic outfit looking there. That wagon probably weighs just shy of 2,000 pounds, and rolling weight is much better, but if you get in something real soft, or real rocky, they would have trouble, but Dolly's mules are quite fit. Jerry and Debbie Ross are from this area. They joined us as well. The wagon, the red wagon they're driving, used to be owned by a man named Al Chin, who I said was driving until he was 92. So they have that wagon here. And then we have Mike and Mary Kuchenmeister, who helped me with some advice on trails and some things. They were also delightful. This is Ken's granddaughters. So we had some youth. We had some youth on our trip, thanks to him. Let's see, and then we have our Southern California, Cliff makes his own wine and has grown his own wine for like 10 or 20 years. And he drug his brother along, and they were still speaking by the end. We were very proud. They were still talking. There is Liam. That's Doc Fly with the blue fronted shirt, and his brother Howie on the left, and their 4 mules. The mules look really well behaved in this picture. Don't let them trick you. The Grula mule in the back is his wife's pet. So he says, you tell my wife, Olivia was well taken care of during this trip. So he was. So Doc Fly came because he wanted his son Dustin, who's in the poncho, and his grandson Liam to keep this alive. And Doc's 84 and Liam's, I think he's 8, I'm close. But he wants them to have that. And I know there's boys in the room, they don't use the potty. They had a tree. And so as a girl, we're walking by going, I'm gonna pretend that I'm not even seeing. They taught Liam to pee on a tree instead of go to the outhouse. But I guess that's an important thing to teach an 8-year-old boy. Just turn your back and let it go. All kinds of things we learned. All right, I'm still on time. So things looking really good on day 1, okay? We left a couple minutes late, but not terrible. The first part of the trip, it's like a highway. It is the best road you could ever want to drive a wagon on. It's kind of like, a super highway, but it's dirt. And the first day was I had scheduled it out to be long because it was flat and pretty easy. So it's all just under 20 miles. And that's a long way, even with horses pulling whatever. It's a long time to sit. We do drive, and our general rule of thumb is we drive for an hour and then we wait for 10 minutes and let the animals catch their breath and breathe and do all that stuff. So we drive about, like I said, an hour and 15, and then we wait for 10. So things were going really well at the beginning of day 1, and the rain forecast was showers on and off, but nothing to be afraid of. And I told everybody we could get some rain on Monday, bring your rain gear, and wait, a little rain, we're fine. It was a little more, as you can tell. Here's one. I have lots of good sayings too. If you don't believe in God, or you know someone that doesn't believe in God, you send them on a wagon drive. They will. Because you will go, there's no way this all should have worked out. If there's not a God, this would not have worked very well. So I have seen some amazing things. So it will restore your faith, or if you need a little pick-me-up, because only God could have saved us from ourselves sometimes. So, see, it's getting a little dark. And then, so the lunch stop, we stop, and you can see the support trucks. You can see the U-Haul. There's a wagon right in front, but right behind it, I don't know, it's like some elephant that came from somewhere, Massachusetts or something. We watched that. So there's a U-Haul, and then right back there, that's the potty. And so on the good days, and they brought water, and my husband brings the little buckets out, and everybody, the horses get to drink, and everybody gets to go to the bathroom, and the driver gets to go off. Everybody, it was still going good. Okay. Then, now we've gone to reindeer, and we're not afraid of rain. And the weather, of course, it wasn't freezing cold or anything. And then you can see the feed truck back there and the line of wagons, and that's Otis. I think Sue, the wagon master, who should have had her own team, she wagon hopped because she didn't have her own. Her wagon was. She is fine, by the way, or I would have said something, but she did get released. Her wagon did not burn up. It got within like less than a mile of her house, and they were ordered to evacuate, but her wagon is fine. So she wagon hopped and liked that because she got to, okay. So we go to bed Monday night, and it's like it rains, and then it stops, and then it rains, and then it rains, and then it rains some more. And I get up Tuesday morning. I don't understand this country. I'm not from here. I know more desert sand where it can rain, and by the next day, it just soaks it all up, and you're good. Out here, you all have this clay stuff down in the playa that will suck in your shoes, your horse's feet, your mules, your wagons. And I'm like, okay, maybe we'll delay. And nice people from Fallon area said, "You're not going anywhere." I believe it was Ken who knocked on my door and nicely said, "I'm sorry to bother you, but you're not going anywhere." And I'm like, oh. And then the more I talked, where we were fine. But the hill we were gonna go over also was pretty rocky, and we would have been okay. But when we dropped down in the playa toward US 95, I believe it's described as snot by your locals. And they said, it looks like it's firm, but it'll just suck in your animals and you. And you know, we are a little older, a little more conservative, and the Yahoo, we're gonna show them we did it. We're not gonna do that to hurt people or animals. So, I was really proud of the group. This is the What Do We Do Now meeting. And we came up with some options. We were very democratic. Probably wagon trains were this way in the beginning when people were still fed and were good. But everybody was really wonderful. We had some people that didn't have anything dry left. So Tom had said, "Oh, I want to bring an Easy Up." We're like, "Oh, Tom, you don't need it." Fortunately, he didn't listen to me. And her Tom brought the Easy Up. And we also couldn't have fires. In Death Valley, we do Dutch oven cooking. But because you're in a high fire alert, the Davis fire, I mean, we understand that. I thought they were picking on me, but I was assured no. This is a truly high fire thing. So right behind me, we had one of those propane. You're allowed to use a propane fake fire. So that turned into a clothes rack to dry out some people's stuff because literally they didn't have a dry thing left. So the group talked about it. We talked about the safety of the animals. We talked about what we were gonna do. And at that point, the NOAA forecast, you gotta pick one, said it's gonna keep raining. So we decided, well, now at least we can still get home. If we went forward and we got stuck, we would be on the 6 o'clock news, and that's not good. We want to get wagon driving out, but that was not the way we wanted to be remembered. So the group decided, all right, by this time it's 20 miles. That's a pretty good clip, and that's a lot of miles for a horse and wagon or mules and wagons to cover. So we decided we'll stay there, we'll lay over there on Tuesday, and then Wednesday we would drive back to Lovelock. And at this point, because we have cell service, we had a layover day scheduled for Wednesday. Steve Knight was supposed to come. I'd sent several people invitations. June was having like team ropings or something, and I said, "Can we please come back to the Lovelock Fairgrounds?" She was very nice. Your Fallon people, were nice. This is such an encouraging area, and people were so supportive of us. Greg at the geothermal plant, that's private property. And he said, yeah, come park your wagons there. It's no problem. And if I'd have had a permit, and then the Marsden House in Lovelock, we were kind of going to do a fundraiser dinner with them or do something, but I didn't have a permit until Friday, and then they had an illness or death in the family, so it didn't work out. But next year, we're going to be really ready. We still had a great time. We got the permit this year, so that basic part has been approved. And next year we hope to drive in, at least into the geothermal plant and encourage people, bring their kids, bring kids and grandkids out. We do a layover day on Wednesday. We have guest speakers. In Death Valley, we dress in pioneer garb. And I guess Bill Adams used to have like the soldiers or Union, whatever, and the whole, whatever. So that stuff's all fun, and it's all living history for your most of us are at the grandkid stage, not so much the kid stage. But bring them out, let them pet the animals, and see what this history is all about. And most of us on the wagon train are just happy to talk about our experience and share that. So we didn't make it. But I tell people you almost got your money's worth, because the whole drive was supposed to be 60 miles. Well, we did 20 twice, so you got 40. I mean, really? So with that, I'm gonna say thank you for you all supporting us. We felt like the whole Lovelock, Fallon communities both were glad to see this come back. And let's see if I gotta, oh yeah, that was the layover day where we were drying our clothes. There's the U-Haul. We did have bathrooms. No takers on the showers that day. And people either sleep in their wagons. If Sue made your canvas, you sleep in your wagon because it's watertight. And it's solid. But sometimes if there's too many people, I don't know, his wagon would have held all of his people. Somebody had to be in tents. So there's tents out there, there's wagons, and they just hunkered down and tried to stay dry on those days. Yep, more of that. Oh, we did have a little, guitar, fiddle, and mandolin going on around our fake campfire, but hey, you make do. Oh, and then we decided that should be our potluck. And so food kind of raises people's spirits, so we do know how to eat. That's the other reason we keep coming back. So, and so Tom put this together, and instead of Wagons West, we were Wagons East. We kind of had to tuck tail a little bit and go back where we came from, but we're not quitters. We will be back next year. We will have much better timeline to be able to organize some things with both the Lovelock folks and with you. And oh yeah, and of course the last day was gorgeous, right? Wouldn't you know? But where we were going to take the animals wasn't, and that wasn't the right thing to do. So we went ahead and just kept going. And then we just, because we were at Lovelock, about half the people went home, but there were some that were left. And so we did just squeeze in another couple miles, get closer to our 60 that we promised them. So again, the weather was good, but when they were going back to get their vehicles at the geothermal plant, it was thunder and lightning. Because, kind of as the semi-leader, we did it as a group, but, when you turn back and you go, yeah, Jeanette, you talked us into turning back. I was kind of happy when it poured thunder and lightning. It's like, okay, thank you. I didn't lose all credibility with the group, so we did it. And another potluck. You have a theme here. We're good at potlucks. So we had a great time. And that was goodbye Lovelock and goodbye friends, and thanks for still letting me. If she'd have said, come hear about the wagon train that didn't really happen, you might not have come, but I wasn't gonna give it away. That it was kind of bait and switch, a little bit of a trick. But you got to learn a little bit more about wagon trains and what we do, and I'm happy to answer whatever questions I can. I believe that was my 45. See, I can tell time. Thank you. That's good. And I think they're going to feed you too. But anyway, I'm happy for questions if you have any or comments. Yes, sir.
I think one of your first slides showed the piece of railroad that had the marker.
Yeah.
Does the trail that you were planning on following, is it aligned?
Great question. A couple of places it is, but the real trail doesn't follow a single route because they had to graze their stock. So once the first 10,000 people went through, there was no vegetation. So they'd have to move over like a half a mile so that there would be something to graze their stock. So we did hit it a couple of times. Actually, the US 95 were dead on it. We had a couple of spots where we were dead on the trail. Because roads, you know, even game paths become Native American paths, become cowboy trails, and that's what they turned into the highway. So we were there a couple of times. But the true immigrant trail is miles wide because they needed stuff to burn for fires if they could, and they needed grazing for their stock. Yes?
When you called it Fearful Crossing, is that what the people back then called it?
They mostly called it the 40-mile desert. Bill Adams called it, the 40-mile desert didn't really start till we got about a third of the way in, and then it hits the 40-mile desert, and out of honor to Bill Adams, he called this Fearful Crossing. And so I kept that name, even though 40-mile desert is often used, and we didn't get to the 40-mile desert. No, that wasn't the reason. No, but that was what he had termed it. And he was a history buff and knew his stuff, so I wasn't going to argue with it.
Yeah.
So I kept it. Yes.
I was just going to comment. I had one of my relatives came over really early over here, and other guys, and they started growing things, and they had a place where they sold their stuff up on the still waters. And I thought, why did they have it up on the hill? You'd think they just had it on the ground. But that playa is right outside Fallon out there. But that's why I wanted to city.
Well, and Ragtown is very well known as an integral part of this story. And you start hearing, and there are still people today that said when their grandfather back in the 30s and 40s, you could still find wagon wheels and bones. And it really is a sacred, there's a lot of, I think it's like every 100 feet, there's like a dead something buried beneath you, you know, that tried to make this trip. So we try to honor that. But the land is tough. They just had to hunker down and stay put. They didn't necessarily have a potty wagon and the luxury of turning around. Yes?
I'm just wondering, aside from, if you want to participate in this, are you paying for a membership? Do you have to have your own wagon? That kind of thing.
Okay, see, I'm getting somewhere. So I got interest. Yes, you do need to do your own wagon. Bill actually catered it when he did it. But here you need your own wagon, your own team, and we require people to do their own food. It's not catered. And these kinds of wagon drives are hard. If you want to do a weekend and you've never really been out, we'll take care of you. But these, you need to have some experience. But how you can participate, that layover day that should have been Wednesday, we put it close enough to US 95. It was like, if it wasn't for the rain, it was like 1.5 miles from the road. And we love people to come in. And if there was enough interest, we want to show off our teams. We would probably hitch up a wagon and do some wagon rides if people wanted some in the area. But yes, you need to own your own stock and your own wagon and have some experience. If somebody's never done this before, we're not going to let them because they don't know what they're getting themselves into.
So there are shorter.
Yes, we do weekend drives. We do what you call a wagon wheel where you camp, and then every days you go out and you come back to camp. Where with us, we're supposed to be moving forward. We didn't do that this time. Yes, Mel.
So you said that you only had like one artificial stove, I'm assuming a Coleman or something like that. How do people then cook?
We do cook stoves. Most everybody's wagons,
So everybody
those
has-
butane. Yeah, at Death Valley we do coals, and about half the time they use their own. Most of the wagons will have those little butane ones you get from, you know, like a Walmart, and they'll heat up. And I mentioned we had a freezer, so, you know, you're really reheating. So, yeah, we eat well. So people cook good before they get there. Miss Flower, she brought lots of good food, and Ken forgot it when he left. He was in a hurry, you know. And so usually people don't come back for it. So those of us that were in camp were kind of looking, and Sue we were probably going to eat it, but fortunately she called and said, oh, we forgot the food. But people bring good, yeah, like we have pecan crusted salmon. I mean, we have people, yeah, Sue's a cook. They had some great stuff out there, so, yes.
So last week we were told that you were on the train. I was like, oh, it'd be really cool to get photos. Wow. But I looked up your website to try and find out where you were or how you were. How did you find out about your layover days? Because next year I would really like to know.
Good. We would love to have you. Again, if I know what I'm doing and can confidently, I didn't want to invite people to a layover day. I thought it might not happen because I didn't have a permit. But it didn't, we will get you on, we'll figure out a communication list and put an email list together so that if anything happens, I sent out directions on exactly how to get there, and we'll certainly work with the folks here at this museum to let you know.
Yeah, because it'd be nice, some of those trail areas, I don't want to disturb the horses or the mules, obviously, but it's like if I park far away and go sit on one of the hills, I'll just take pictures as you're going by, that would be cool.
And there, you get, you know, what do you take? 10 and 9 of them not so good, but that one is a gem. And if you go to Corral 14, we have a Facebook page. And if you go to www.corral14, there's a theme here, we have a website, and you can see old pictures from years gone by and kind of how we do this. So thanks for your interest. I saw a hand over there. Wait, she's already had it. She gets a first, and then you get a second. Yes. Yes.
Oh, I just wondered, what was the total number of wagons in your?
We ended up with 10 and 32 people and about probably just under 40 animals.
Is that the normal amount that you have?
Well, the most we could have had was 20. The permit, our Death Valley permit has a 15 max, although years back in the 60s and 70s, sometimes they would have 25 wagons. The logistics just gets really hard between the feed and the water. And we'd also had worked out, you know, water up here is hard to come by. And so we needed to find a place where we could fill up the water and do all of that. But yeah, 8 was a good number. I didn't want to push it too hard because it was my first year. And thank goodness, because most everybody I knew, and they were pretty much agreeable. Sometimes. And lucky. Lucky will beat smart almost any day. So I'll take luck. Yes. Now you get 2.
The water was in the U-Haul?
Yes. There's barrels that we were going to use the one day the trucks couldn't get there, but we have a 500-gallon water tank that we use for Death Valley, and we use those 250, those water cubes that, you know, you see people for potable water.
So you were saying people would have to refill the water. Do they have to leave your train and go?
Yeah, the support crew doesn't necessarily stay with us. It just depends on the day. They'll go to town to get water, whatever needs to be done. The only truck that stays with us the whole way, if they can, is the rescue truck, because it's nice if they drop, if, you know, somebody has a problem.
We were noticing that the way the wagons looked, they looked different than the covered wagons we're used to.
Well, 2 of them are English carts. I was one of them.
They were wider, the pictures.
They're not Conestogas. A lot of people are used to the Conestogas that kind of look like a sausage. They have little pointy ends. This is a pretty typical, that's a pretty typical look. You know, that's pretty modern day. Sue, the eyebrow, you know, kind of the front porch cover, that's kind of new. People wouldn't do that, but then you got the sun beating on you. So Sue has kind of customized it. Other people clearly do it as well. But that way you can get up underneath, out of the weather and out of the sun. Yes, ma'am?
So, but I mean, that's wagon tires versus truck tires. I mean, that's a little obvious, right? But in Ray's research, when we were going over this, the wagons were whatever the folks happen to have, right? So if you're coming from Tennessee, Missouri, Connecticut, whatever farm wagon you've got, that's what you use. So sometimes it was a farm wagon with something like this. Sometimes it would have been a little bit bigger, sometimes it would have been a little smaller, sometimes badly the damn thing got beat up coming across the desert. So none of those two would look alike by the time they got here. So having them all be not uniform, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. You are very right, and that's like I say, people bring their own and people customize them the way they want to. So, yes.
Are they, most of them like modern and built recently, or are any of them actual antiques?
Some of them are probably from the 50s and 60s. Most of them are probably from the 70s and 80s. And some are, you know, old parts that somebody just put together. Sue, the wagon master's granddaughter, for her, when she was a senior, she built her own wagon with her father. And usually the minis, you know, we go to Death Valley and everybody's got these beautiful, big, impressive animals, but they see my little minis, they go, oh, they're so cute. Well, the word got out that Maisie had built her own wagon, so she became the rock star because people were so impressed. They go, oh, that's the girl that built her own wagon. And she built one with older parts, but from the ground up. So it was, yeah, we like that independent spirit. And men, women, you know, there's male Teamsters, female, whatever. We have several that were driven by women, so I feel really fortunate now. Anybody else? I got a couple more minutes. Yes, sir.
In the late 1800s, when the pioneers came across, from the source of water at the Humboldt to Grand Canal with the Carson River, how long, time-wise, did that take?
40 miles. A wagon train, we average 3 to 4 miles an hour. So you're talking about days of not having water. You're talking about trying to bring barrels of water for days. And we did hear from the lecture a little bit. The 40-mile desert, actually, they could have taken the 26-mile, but people were afraid, and it was just, and then the water that was there, they couldn't hold the animals back, and the animals are drinking it, the water's poisoned. And so it was, there's a 26, right, Beth? You were saying there's another way. Anyway, Tom was explaining, Steve Knight had just given a lecture. And again, I'm not an expert. Yes, do you know?
The 26 mile is, instead of following the Carson River through the Narrows, it goes straight across. So basically, that hill that goes down to the stagecoach, or Silver Spring rather, it goes straight there instead of following the river.
And again, next time you should bring in an immigrant trail expert, which I am not, I'm learning, but there were variations. And then, you know, once the Donner Party spooks you, you're like, ooh, I don't want to go that way, you know. But the weather played a big deal, and the animals couldn't make it, and the people couldn't make it. Okay, if I got another like minute wrap up, and I give you snacks. So we could go have a little of that, and we're happy to mix and mingle. Again, we've got Ken who was on the drive, Beth was on the drive, I was on the drive, and we'd be more than happy to have some more conversations with you. So thank you for being a great, great audience.